Welcome back to OpenLine. We are talking about redeveloping East Nashville. The whole process is going to be massive new development over there. It's industrial now. It's going to become residential and a huge transformation. And so we're talking about that. We have with us individuals from Stand Up Nashville, David Rutledge with the labor union that's underneath Stand Up Nashville, and Nate Carter with Stand Up Nashville. And several calls. We just keep getting calls. We'll just keep going back to the phones. I'm going to go to Wilma. Hello, Wilma.
Hey, y'all. Listen, I have some comments. And first, I want to tell Mr. Carter and Mr. Rutledge, I have a lot of admiration for what they do, and I think they're both doing a good job. But, you know, this whole lower bank over in East Nashville, it's a floodplain. There used to be residential areas there before it was completely industrialized. The lumber yards and the bridge company and other places had been there for quite a long time. But my grandfather lived over there and lost his 15-year-old brother to tetanus because of the flooding that constantly happened there. And that was after they had put in the lock in the river before the dams. So I'm just assuming that once it starts flooding, and they're going to dig them a moat back there so they can have a yacht club, and once it starts flooding, that everybody in Nashville, we're going to help pay for that flood insurance and those flood claims. And I'm sure that we'll all be happy to pay for that in higher insurance rates. Where they said they weren't going to build in these floodplains anymore. That's why it was industrialized. But anyway, when you talk about going back on a deal, that deal down there at 5th and Main where the old Genesco factory was, that was supposed to be for low income and homeless housing. And after the 2010 flood came, that all changed. So I see deals like that around town. And over there where the old Settle Court is, next to Dodge City, over there, Settle Court, when they moved those people out, they gave them Section 8 vouchers to go out into areas like South Nashville, Antioch, and Hermitage, in a higher density area than what they were living in. And their excuse for bulldozing, say, Settle Court and Casey Homes was the density was too high, and that caused crime. Well, they didn't seem to have a problem to move them out to higher density areas in these apartment buildings, which now absolutely refuse to take Section 8. So a lot of those people didn't return, because the people who did return to the redeveloped Settle Court area were driving Altimas and nice vehicles and stuff and making around $60,000. So the low-income people, they kept packing them into Casey Homes. So this is what I think they're going to do. When they develop their boulevard to connect across to Murfreesboro Pike to connect to the soccer stadium that everybody loves, I think the next housing development that's going to go is going to be the oldest in Nashville. I think it was the first one, which is the Napier Homes. And where are those people going to go? Everybody complains there's no child care, there's nobody to take care of their dogs, there's nobody to clean the toilets in the expensive hotels downtown. What do you expect? There is a limit to being an idiot. And I don't think that our city leaders and our city council are doing their job. They're just going on along with the idiot crew here. And I think that they need to wake up, because one day they're not going to be able to live here either.
Wilma has a lot to say. Okay, Wilma, thank you, Wilma. There's history in there about the flooding and her 15-year-old brother. That's terrible. I'm fascinated by that, but okay, she's talking about Settle Court, she's talking about the boulevard they're going to build, and I guess comment on half of what she said.
So, you know, she mentioned the development at 5th and Main and what happened there, and that's one of the examples that we harken back to as well, which is a situation where the developer made promises. They maybe even made a pinky promise, I don't know, and didn't deliver on those promises. And that's why when we're dealing with developers moving forward, we want contractual agreements that are enforceable in court to build affordable housing, right? We've had enough as a city of developers saying, I promise I'll do this, and then not doing it, right? And they've gotten away with it over and over, and that's why we're taking a stand, and that's why we're not allowing this to go forward again. And when it comes to the flooding issue and things like that, I know the planning department's definitely taking into consideration stormwater mitigation and things like that. I hope that when they redevelop the East Bank, it is not just a situation where everybody gets swept off to Clarksville or something like that the next time there's a big flood. But I've got a lot of confidence in our city's ability to plan correctly for those things.
Hopefully, yeah, there's some mitigation things in place. I'm sure it was a floodplain. I'm sure that's why it was industrial, and hopefully that's an interesting point. What about settle court? And her other point that people complain they're not enough workers. They're not workers to clean our hotels, to work in our restaurants. Well, they can't afford to live downtown. Mm-hmm. And, that's why.
It is so many laws that's preempted a certain amount of things in the city of Nashville. Federal law, we still make $7.25 an hour in Nashville, Tennessee.
Minimum wage.
Minimum wage. And that is absurd. That is crazy. So, yeah, it's a lot that we have to deal with. And that's something that we have to talk to our council members and city elected officials about.
All right, Wilma, thank you for that. Let's go to Mac. Hello, Mac.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead, Mac. What's on your mind?
Oh, I was wondering, you should put the mayor on there and let's talk about the homeless situation. It's on the news every day, but yet we're stuck on lower housing for people that are on Section 8. Let's talk about that.
So you'd rather talk about homeless as opposed to low-income housing?
Yeah. It's on your news channel every day. Get the mayor on there. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, we would love to have the mayor on. He's talking about homeless. You hear Mac, and Mac, I think, is very frustrated with the homeless issue, and he's frustrated. We're not talking about it. We're talking about low-income housing. What about the homeless issue and all of this?
So let me just piggyback off of what Matt said. To be honest with you, Mac, we had 177 families displaced in River Chase as we speak right now. We don't know how many of those families are actually homeless. They add to the homelessness in the city of Nashville. So when we're talking about low-income housing, that adds to the homelessness in the city of Nashville. So if we can get affordable housing in the city of Nashville, we can probably work on the homelessness, because all these families are not in livable places right now. A lot of people are separated away from their family and they've been displaced. So like I said, this is a ongoing situation if we don't grab it by the head right now.
And I would just say to add on to that, like I live in East Nashville, I work downtown. I've seen, the number of unhoused people in our community grow, and you see people on the corners, you see, people in dire situations out there in our community. And, what are we doing instead? We're hosting streetcar races. I feel like the decision makers in Nashville over the last couple of decades have decided to make our city a venue for other people to enjoy, to come in from out of town and enjoy their entertainment, while not dealing with the basics of making sure that the people who live in this community are taken care of properly. And that's something that we all should be concerned about, and that's something that definitely we need, whether it's the mayor or the governor or our city council or our state legislature. Everybody needs to be paying attention to that.
And we will invite the mayor on. All right, let's go Anderson. Hello, Anderson.
Hi. Yes, this is Miss Anderson.
Miss Anderson,
Yes, I am a realtor with Keller Williams Realty. That's Keller Williams Music City. That's over on Charlotte Avenue. And I'm just first of all, let me just say I love what you're doing. Definitely stand up, speak up, draw those lines, because you are setting a precedent right now, and you want it to be the right one. I would suggest that you contact Keller Williams. They are very, very honest, an ethical company. They're the largest in Tennessee and in the United States, in fact, in the world. And I know for a fact there are two brokers at the location on Charlotte Avenue, the Music City location. And I would contact one of those, schedule a meeting. They are for this city. They are for the people of this city. They're not after money. They want to represent their clients, their people, and make it a good place and make it a better place. So that's my first suggestion. Secondly, and you may have already done this, get a good attorney, a real estate attorney, and get advice from him. And when you go to the table to negotiate, you want to do it in person, everything in writing, specific, very, very specific language, and you want to state, this is what we want, this is what you must do if you're going to build here, and these are the penalties and the consequences if you do not do this. Get it in writing, have witnesses, you get every bit of documentation, videos, photographs, everything you can do. And then lastly, let me just encourage you to continue to reach out to our government. You know, we have the Capitol right here in the heart of our city. There are good people there that want the best for this town, for this state, and they will stand up for you. And there need to be laws in place that specifically say if you're going to come in to develop, you know, if you're going to be tearing things down, what are you going to give back? What are you going to give back to this community?
Okay.
And they need to pay for that. So anyway, those are my suggestions.
Ms. Anderson, all right, well, thank you. Thank you. All right, so briefly, respond to what she's saying there. You're kind of saying the same thing. You want something in writing. I mean, she's saying get something in writing. You've done this before where you say, yeah, we promise we'll do this. You want, what you're going for here is something rock solid.
And we're fortunate to have two attorneys who've been working with us in the process of these negotiations, two women who've done excellent work and definitely know contract law better than either me or Nate do.
Yes, sir. Amazing.
You know, so we would be groping in the darkness if it weren't for their assistance. But you know, I'd also say that Ms. Anderson probably knows better than almost anybody what's been happening with, you know, the real estate market here in Nashville, and it's just insane, you know, where people are paying above asking price, people are paying above appraisal values in cash to get housing here in Nashville, and that's a situation that's causing the folks who live here in our community to be squeezed out, and that's the whole thing that we're trying to address.
All right, we'll take a break. We have more calls, so hold on the line, take a break, be back right after this.